25th anniversary. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary, Mr. Konheim. Happy anniversary to you. He has been so generous. You have no idea.
Well, thank you all, and don't worry about not getting dressed up, because now I have to, I always thought it was great. You didn't get dressed up. I don't have to write Alice a thank you note. Now I have to write her a thank you note for singing Happy Anniversary, so thank you.
Our voices, you can
What?
take this off if you want to.
When I'm ready, are you ready for me to go?
You're ready.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, no, I didn't tell.
What?
Well, as soon as you came here, we're supposed to sing to you and welcome you. But a little something about Mr. Konheim, how he started Nicole Miller. He's a native New Yorker, and is a graduate of one of my favorite colleges, Dartmouth. He first worked in his family business, which was called P.J. Walsh. And when it dissolved, he proceeded to form his own company, and he interviewed designers, and in came Nicole Miller into his life. He saw the talent, and by 1982, he offered her a partnership, renaming the company Nicole Miller. He is a member of the Educational Foundation here at FIT, Fashion Industries. He served as commissioner for the Cities of New York's Art Commission. He is extremely creative, and you are meeting one of, in my opinion, and everyone else, if you read the write-up at Women's Wear Daily, he is one of the most brilliant merchants because he's creative and resourceful, and that's what makes him extraordinary and different from others. I just love this man. Okay? Now we welcome him.
Thank you. That's a wonderful. Whoop. How do I get this out? Thank you. That's a wonderful introduction. I'm going to pick up the papers you dropped.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Here. Thank you. Anyhow, about brilliant. I'm not brilliant. No, I'm not. If I had to say something good about myself, I would say I'm an opportunist. I have learned to take advantage of opportunity, and that I can trace back. Did anybody ever read this, the thing that Alice sent out, the women's wear, the reprint of Women's Wear? Raise hands. Oh, okay. This is an excerpt out of a 24-page insert that Women's Wear did on a 25th anniversary, and it was really exciting for us because it was like an Academy Award. The only bad part was I didn't get to make a speech, but it was really great. It was Neiman's and Lord & Taylor's and a whole bunch of people ran ads for us, and the articles actually are really interesting. And I have to admit that I haven't really actually read the thing. I looked at it, was all excited, sent it out to a bunch of people, but I just read the stuff about this piece that you got, self-determined. So if I have to say, and obviously I come down here unprepared to do anything because I don't know what the class wants, and I could do this, but I want to say something about self-determined. I am 4 generations. This marks my 52nd year in the business. That's almost as old as some of you are. And anyhow, what I managed to do from day one was to absolutely think about what I was doing and try to do something I really believed in. So that meant not doing anything the market said to do, and we don't have enough time, but on some occasion, I will come down and give a merchandising marketing class, a whole thing of all the things that I've done and that I've done with Nicole, that they absolutely said, don't do it, or nobody does it that way, or the market doesn't do that, or it can't be done. All of that stuff, not every one of them has been successful, but every one of them set us apart as totally independent. And the next thing you know is, here we are as Nicole Miller, 25 years in business with no backers anywhere. We don't have any European backers. We don't have any factories in China owning us, or Kashiyama, or anybody like that. Nicole and I have gone to 25 years just with ourselves, just thinking about things, and we've had some incredible successes, and we've had some pretty good failures too, but on balance, the thing has been really good. Anyhow, I want to keep this down to at least, the hour. I've got, for the first time, last Wednesday, the Women's Wear Daily asked me to talk about sourcing. And the last guy to ask about sourcing, I know about, been in the business a long time. I started in a factory. I started making boxes, which I know you never heard of, but in the old days, they'd send in sheets of corrugated cardboard, and you take a razor blade, you cut the thing out, tape it, and make a box. They didn't have pre-made boxes. So that's when I started, and so I know every operation from the factory to sewing to pattern making to grading to cutting to everything. And it was a family business, and they put me through the ringer for all of that. So they asked me to be on a panel about sourcing, and I'm on the panel with guys from Liz Claiborne and Jones and Kelwood. And I said, what are you asking me to do that for? All these guys want to know is that they found some country that's not even on the planet that's got some very cheap labor and that they can go there and get stuff made cheap. I said, that's not our game anymore. I know how to do that, but I don't want to talk about it. Oh, no, we really want you to come down and talk about this stuff and everything else. So I said, okay, I'll tell you, I'll do it if I'm the first one to talk in the morning so I can get out of there. So they said, okay, but they managed not to live up to the word. They put the guy from Liz Claiborne on before me, and it was matrix this and computer that and this country that and this agent here and that this, and it was just totally boring stuff to me. I didn't want to hear it, and they're so big, everybody's taking notes, like, my God, this is the way to get big, is to listen to a Liz Claiborne lecture about how to get an agent in China. I said, if that's the way to get big, then nobody has to go to FIT, they just listen to this lecture. So then and then to prepare for this thing, I wasn't prepared, but to prepare for the thing, what I did was I took some shots around our place so that I could, because when you're talking to an audience like you guys or like the panel, nobody wants to hear you talk, they have to see things, because we're in an age of television. Unless you have a picture, nobody can understand what you're saying. So what I did was I took some shots that I'm going to show now, and I want you to see these shots because I'm going to illustrate a couple of things, the way we go about getting the runway show together. I'll show the runway show right after this. But, okay, hang on for the first one. What I want to show is, and I'm going through our whole, just the back room. All right, this is a Peruvian vase, and we did about and there's the fabric that came from the Peruvian vase. We did about 3 months of real research on a cultural background of cultures, of the background and the design background for the last 3 or 4 years. And it started out with the Celtic designs. That was our first one, and that was just about 5 years ago. And Nicole was on a treadmill in St. Bart's on St. Patrick's Day, and she saw Ceilidh dancers, and she said, oh, I always want to do Celtic. And so we went back and did a PhD level research on Celtic designs, which is an unending knot, and there are all different variations of the thing. And she came back, and after 3 months, then they deconstructed the thing, reconstructed them, put them into colors, and they actually went out and made fabric of all different kinds. Silk, of course, is the first one, but then they did wool and linen and cotton and everything else. And it was authentic. The word authentic now is being applied to us for the last 5 years because she didn't do Audrey Hepburn, she didn't do the 60s, she didn't do the 70s, didn't do any of the things that everybody else does. And we never run to Europe to go and buy out Prada and buy out Dolce & Gabbana, so we come back and take this lapel and put it on that sleeve and put it into this body. We don't do that. The advantage of not doing that is we don't look like anybody else. The disadvantage is we spend a lot of money and a lot of time in actual original design that doesn't always work out. But I'm giving you the stuff that does work out right now. So after all this time, we now get to this current runway season, which was Peru. The next slide is going to be the Celtic, to go back, this is a remake of the original Celtic design. No, go back. This is awful. That's so fuzzy, nobody can see it. Okay. This design was the original Celtic design. It's still running. This is now its 4th year of running. We started about 5 years ago, and in the light color It's the dress that you see Angelina Jolie wearing in that famous press conference where she is standing this far from Brad Pitt after they just finished Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Brad Pitt's standing there, she's standing here, and it's like, we're not sleeping together? You know? And so the dress became really famous. That's luck. We got very lucky she was wearing that dress at the time. Anyhow, this is a recoloration of that dress. Okay, go through a bunch of slides now. No, before go through, terrible. I should have deleted this, but I couldn't delete it. It was on a CD. It's Nicole sketching. Nicole is a serious designer. She used to drape all the stuff herself. Now she sketches it and gives it to a first pattern maker. Next one too. This, she's putting the trim on it here. Next, yeah, okay. little dark here, but everything we do is a 400-year-old French dressmaking system. You're going to see some slides here on the back. No computers, not a single piece of bought merchandise anywhere in sight, and people draping the sketch in muslin. Now, Nicole graduated from RISD, and then she also graduated from Chambre Syndicale de Haute Couture, which was all about draping. She spent 1 year on a sleeve, and it was an intense draping course, and that's what she did for the first 6 years that we worked together. She draped herself. We never had an assistant. This is the first pattern maker. Okay, next. I'll try and get through these fast. More mannequins. Next. Okay, sample room. Now you're looking around the place. This is all our stuff. There's nobody's stuff hanging. These are first samples. Okay, next. Guy is cutting the muslin out. He's making a paper pattern. This is a torturous process. Next. These are all of the, we try out on all the patterns that we make. We get in sample rolls. Super expensive to go and do this small amounts. Next. There's the roll of this is now production fabric that's come in off that Peruvian vase. Next. Okay, production room with the patterns hanging there. We do half the stuff in here, we do half in the Orient. Half is made in New York, right across the street. Okay, this is old-fashioned patterns. You can see them, the paper patterns are hanging right there. No Gerber machines, no Lectra machines, none of that. Next, set of patterns. Next. Okay, stock goods coming in. Next. Okay, that's the sample room again. Okay, kill the rest of the slides because it's, you know what this stuff looks like. It's our back room is typical of the way we run the entire business. It's not like any other room in New York. We do all the production patterns here. We do all of the notches. We do everything in-house, no computers, all by hand, and that's why part of the design is the way it fits. Now, I've been in the garment center long enough where people will tell you about the fit. They'll say, oh, it fits. A lot of garment guys mean it fits when it goes over the body. Then in that case, you would say a muumuu fits because it just goes over. You know, I mean, it's not, the fit is part of the design to the point when people put on Nicole's stuff, it feels great. It's like the only thing, because I don't wear dresses, the only thing I could tell you that it's like is if you see a $200 jacket and a $1,200 jacket, they could kind of look the same, except when you put the $1,200 jacket on, you feel like $1 million. And that's exactly what her dresses feel like when you put them on. And it all comes from all of this torture that we go through the back by not using the modern technique of the computers and everything else. We get this really great handmade look. Okay, now I'm going to show you the show, and then we'll say a couple things after it. Okay, can you roll the show now? The show, what you'll see coming out on the first thing of the show is that pattern, which was, we got on this show, and I'll say something about this show after he shows it, we got universally great reviews. There wasn't one bad review, and that was probably because we didn't invite the Times. But everybody else wrote great reviews. They didn't write any review because we didn't ask them. Okay, are we going to roll it? Mark, hello. Well, maybe we're not going to see it. Okay, so maybe I'll tell you. Oh, here it comes. Okay. That's our name.
Give me more too. I wanna be in that crazy band.
Much for all the variations on the Peruvian theme that are through the show. They're just little touches here and there, but this one's the whole piece.
I know be super fine. You're so cool. Can I be your friend? I'll drive you to the end. But you know what you don't wanna. Cause you want but you can have it. Cause you know what you don't wanna. Cause you want but you can have it.
The hats are from Bolivia.
Ugly. Am I stupid? I'm doing the talking, but I don't get nothing. Ok, minha visa. Quando eu comparar, fazer a íntima. You're so cool. Can I be your friend? I'll drive you to the end.
This is a knit version of that same pattern.
Cause you want but you can have it. Cause you know but you don't wanna. Cause you want but you can have it. Cause you know but you don't wanna. Cause you want but you can have it. Cause you know but you don't wanna. Cause you want but you can have it.
Nicole is famous for dresses, but just look at how much sportswear is in this line.
Good morning.
Look at how many jackets are in the line.
Eyes of radiant blue, perforated, holy in your world where the light shines through. Bathe me with your love rays, wash me in your alien sea. I'm twisted like a firefly when you're gonna rescue me. My mind is liquid, delicate and gone. Condition red, burning in my bed for your siren song. My liberation tango, strawberry sweet disease. I'm all lost in the stars, skin electric charge to a Fahrenheit. Hold tight to ignite new alchemy. Liberate me. Eyes like radiant, alien disease. Don't wanna drive a Humvee or supersize my TV. With my space girl is where I wanna be. Condition red, strawberry sweet. Lost in the stars, cooking new alchemy. I feel it coming, coming for me. We're going up, up, up,
Madonna is in love with me. Me and Madonna. It's so sweet to be with you. You're my silicon love. It's so wonderful to dance with you. You're my baby. Madonna is in love with me and Madonna.
It's so sweet to play with you. You're my silicon love, my silicon love. It's so wonderful to dance, my silicon love.
At you on MTV. It's so nice to get into the groove.
It's so sweet to be with you. You're my silicon love.
This model is from a contest. It's the only thing she's wearing is this one right here.
It's so wonderful to dance.
I think Pepsi Nicole run some kind of show and she was the model who won the thing.
On MTV. It's so nice to get into the groove.
It's so sweet to be with you. You're my silicon love. My silicon love. It's so wonderful to dance.
Madonna is in love with me and Madonna. It's so sweet to be with you. You're my silicon love. It's so wonderful to dance with you, you're my baby. Madonna is in love with me and Madonna.
Take me downtown, it's where the people rock. 365, 'cause we never stop. That's right. Take me
Take a look at the back of the sweater, mate.
people's running wild. See how we kick it in a brand new style.
It's got a black elastic that holds it together across the waist.
I wanna go. Everyone I know is going to my show. Take me downtown where the city hum. Then get your head numb to the beat of the drum. 'Cause I see you watching me, watching you. I can see you. And now you see just where you gotta be. I see you watching me, watching you. I can see you. And now you see just where you gotta be. Take me downtown, 'cause baby wants to rock. I need a little edge with my electro pop. Take me downtown so everybody sees I know my moves like my ABCs. Take me downtown, it's time we made it right. This show ain't going nowhere, we'll just party all night. Take me downtown where the city hum. Then get your head numb to the beat of the drum. 'Cause I see you watching me, watching you. I can see you. And now you see just where you gotta be.
she is now, I can only guess, 'cause it's gone, daddy gone, love is gone, it's gone, daddy gone, love is gone, it's gone, daddy gone, love is gone, it's gone, daddy gone, love is gone away. When I see you, eyes will turn blue. When I see
Ne fais pas d'histoire, je veux bien t'aimer. Je ne fais pas d'histoire, oui j'avoue, tu m'as troublé. À ce jeu-là, je sais, tu es bien plus fort que moi.
Well, it's 42 numbers, and it's got tremendous variety in it, and it's got all the patterns are, we threw away about 200 of the Peruvian patterns that she had worked on and just came down to this. And they're obviously our versions of Peruvian stuff, except that one comes right off the vase, almost just the way it was on the vase, reduced and put into wool, put into silk, put into rayon, put into all different fabrics, and then variations on the thing. Okay, wait, we'll let Nicole take a bow and then we'll, bad luck to cut her off before the end of the thing here. She's kind of shy, she just sticks a hand out. Okay, so anyhow, that was the show. It was brilliant in a couple of ways. I usually love all the shows. She's my partner. We've been doing it a long time. There's stuff, usually in the middle of the show, there's stuff I say, well, we didn't need that, we didn't need that. But we have been on a roll for about 3 years in this stretch metal fabric that she also discovered, and we developed, and we had it all alone in the world for about 3 years. Other guys are getting into it now. And I would have expected her to mount a show that had some of that because everybody's so successful with it. She totally didn't have one piece of it on the show. Every fabric in that show was totally different. Everything was light and airy. Everything was different than what we've been very successful with, and it came off even better than what we're doing and what's out in the stores now. So for all those reasons, it was really brilliant. It's really brilliant to go from here and go 180 degrees and carry it off, because everybody is, you get, in our business, you get typecast. Typecast means in Hollywood that they expect Humphrey Bogart to play a tough role. He's typecast. In our business, if she's known for the little black dress, the second she does something else, everybody says, "Where are the little black dresses?" And they can't review it any other way. The second she's known as the Princess of Prince, then she has to put on Prince, because unless she puts on Prince, everybody says, "We're the Prince." They don't want to see solids. And so we broke all of those typecasts. We went 180 degrees. We used a little bit of everything that she wanted to do, and the show came off great. I want to go back to one question that I was asked the last time I did one of these things, which was 6 months ago, whatever. There was somebody sitting right up there that asked me about environmental issues. Everybody's interested right now in green. It was interesting because I usually don't get a question like that, and I'll tell you how well prepared I am for a green discussion. When my oldest son was almost 28 years old, 27 something, he died in a kayak accident off of Oregon, Coos Bay, Oregon. He was a big whitewater kid. He was just about to, he worked 6 months to get the money to go and do that, and then he would do that for 6 months, he'd come back and work for 6 months to get the money, back and forth and whatever. And he was always in these crazy, extreme kayak situations all over the world. Finally caught up with him. So at the age of 25, he left a will. Imagine somebody at 25 years old even writing a will or thinking about this. He wrote a will, and he left all his money to a place called Rocky Mountain Institute. You all have pencils and paper. It's rmi.org. rmi.org, O-R-G. He used to come up to the showroom and talk to me about the waste in our place and about why you're using so much plastic, you know, it's all the typical concerns. When he died, in his apartment, he had a pillowcase that had $60,000 in cash in it. I mean, a little bit crazy, okay, but he was, but that's the kind of kid he was. So he gave that money, and he had some bank accounts, so he turned it all over to Rocky Mountain Institute, and I got very involved, because you can imagine what happens with that kind of a trauma. You get involved in trying to make some sense out of it. There's no sense, you can't make sense of it, you can't bring it back, can't do any of that stuff. All you can do, which is why people do memorials for their parents or for their kids or for anything that happens like that, because it gives you a sense of continuation. He would be 44 years old today. So he died in 91. So in that time, I got very interested in the Rocky Mountain Institute, and I started raising money for them every year. And what they do with the money is they fund a study chair at Rocky Mountain for a student that's graduated from Oxford or Princeton or MIT or Stanford, and it's the most sought-after environmental chair in the world. It is just amazing, the level of people that apply for that chair, and only one gets it every year. And what they've been responsible for, they have developed a science called biomimicry. Without taking up too much of your time, biomimicry is the study of how nature solves its own problems. And then they try to convert that to regular industrial use. And then they developed a thing called biophilia, which is how you make an environment that is really, really much more pleasant to people, and also uses only renewable resources. Now, they hardly ever use the word green at Rocky Mountain, because it doesn't mean anything. They're committed to renewable resources so that you don't destroy the planet and what you're doing. And they have tremendous associations with industry. And they are not Ralph Nader adversarial to industry at all. What they do is they go and work with companies to make them, to show them how they can make more money by turning the plants, whatever they have, into renewable resources, how they can turn their use of energy into renewable resources. Last year, they worked with Walmart. Walmart has the biggest fleet of trucks in the world. They worked with Walmart, they retrofitted all of the Walmart trucks, and they saved 1% of the fuel consumption in the United States, just by that one thing. And the other thing is that I get into this, you can really get into environmental issues and really understand how complicated it is and how people give fast answers, especially when they don't know anything what they're talking about. When you get into our business, everybody thinks that cotton is a green fabric. The pesticides and the chemicals that they have to use on cotton by the time it gets from the cotton plant to you're wearing it, are really destructive of the environment, not only the resources, the energy it uses, which is not renewable, but also the runoff and the pesticides. This is also Rocky Mountain stuff. So they're working right now on cotton seeds that are treated, or they're genetically reconfigured so that they are bug resistant. The plants are bug resistant, you don't have to use any pesticides at all. One of the things that Rocky Mountain came up with by studying a lily pad was that they looked at the lily pad under a microscope, and it always seems to be clean, but they wondered how it got that way. And it's not smooth as it looks to the eye. It's got all these little tiny bumps, and the water falls on the lily pad and floats the dirt off the lily pad, and that's how it stays clean. So they went to Ford with that idea, and they said, if you would make your paint with these little tiny bumps, but it looks smooth, nobody would have to use soap in washing the car. And then the runoff would not pollute the streams because it's just water to water. And so Ford adopted that, and it's one thing after another. When I called up for this 25th anniversary issue, because I've raised so much money for them, and because we fund this chair, I said it would be nice if you guys ran an ad, because I have to go back and raise money, the same people every year. I'd want to show them that you're supporting Nicole Miller and what we do. So they ran an ad. While I had the guy on the phone, he said, this is a good thing. I'd like the whole fashion industry to understand that we are studying things in the clothing business too. So I said, well, what are you studying? He said, you know, if you drill down on a pheasant's feathers, if you really drill down in the stuff and go under microscope, it's all brown. There is no color. So I said, well, how do you see it's all how the way it catches the light. There's a different technique of how the pheasant's feathers catch the light and give you that beautiful color. So I said, what are you going to do? He said, well, imagine if we could get a fabric or get a treatment on something that would just use the way it catches light to give you the pattern and the color. You wouldn't have to use dye stuffs. If you don't have to use dye stuffs, you're not polluting streams with all of the dye that you have to throw away into that. So that's the kind of stuff they're working on. It'd be interesting. Take a look at that website. They have a book out called Winning the Oil Endgame, which is something they developed years and years ago. These guys are the first ones that developed a 90-mile-per-gallon car. And they're in the forefront of an environmental push in this country, which is now getting very popular. The only thing I worry about is the popularity of everybody saying and talking green is liable to get everybody giving fast answers to what they don't know what they're talking about. I see the women's wear is doing it. Harper's Bazaar's got stuff out, and they're going to paint. Here's their green effort. They're going to paint the magazine green. You know, that's not going to solve any problems. So if you get knowledgeable on this thing, it's really helpful because you'll give intelligent answers to complicated questions, and the resources are there. There are people out there that really understand what this whole issue is all about. And since I was asked the question in this class, I thought I'd bring you. I didn't have a chance to say that last time because Alice cut me off and threw me out. So that was the end of that. So anyhow, that's I told you what I want to tell you about this runway show. My advice is, since this is a class, is if you ever get out of FIT, when you get out of FIT, the biggest calling card you can have is yourself. The biggest thing you can do is not to really kind of worry about what everybody else is doing, because if you end up worrying about that, you end up following it. And if you end up following it, there's no way that you'll ever make a difference by yourself. You'll always be a version of what went before you, which is why we don't buy tickets to Europe. It's why we don't actually go and use agents in China, because everybody does exactly the same thing. The next thing you know is you're in a factory with everybody else and all the stuff comes out looking the same. Europe, it's the same thing. You go into a store and clean out Prada and come back, your version of Prada is almost like their version of Prada, and everybody looks the same. Whatever our calling card is, we don't look like anybody else, and it has been, in the last 5 years, been tremendously successful for us. Wait a second. Are there any questions? What? I was going to say, are there any questions? That's what you were prompting. Are there any questions at all about anything? Because I really like that environmental question. There's not a question in the crowd here? No. No, I'm not shocked. Maybe they're just waking up. I just put them to sleep. Okay. For pattern inspiration, where the inspiration right now, what we've done is we've gotten rid of going to places to do the clothes. She's gotten past that, and she's going to get the inspiration by going to a culture that is old, so she can dig out something that's 3,500 years old and redo it. So the first one was Celtic, which is Irish-Scottish. Next one was Viking. Next one was Byzantine, which I thought was incredible. Byzantine is like Turkey. The next one was Mayan, which is interesting. It's Mexican, but it's a different part of Mexican. It's on the East Coast. And this is now going to Peru. And I asked her, what are you doing? What are you doing for the next show? And so of course, she doesn't have a country picked out, so she told me Mars. But I don't, it's just to get me off her back. I don't know where she's going. Yeah.
Hi, we've been hearing a lot about licensing deals going on for the Nicole Miller brand. I was just wondering how you're ensuring that you don't oversaturate the deal.
The question is about the licensing deals, how we ensure that we don't oversaturate the thing. The saturation is one problem. The biggest problem before we get to saturation is the product itself. Who comes to us for a license? The guy that comes to us for a license is a guy who doesn't have the confidence to build his own brand in his own designer name or his own anything, has no identity at all. What he does, the guy that comes to us is a guy that's been taking an order from say Macy's. Macy's comes to and says, here, make 1,000 of these. So the guy has a capacity to do that. He goes out and he makes 1,000 of those things, gives them to Macy's. He gets a check back. He doesn't make 1,001, he just makes 1,000. And so that's his business. Why does he come to us in the first place? Because all of a sudden he finds out that Macy's can do that for themselves. They don't need him. They can go to a sewing factory, a cutting factory, and say, make this. They get it back even cheaper. And so they feel all this vulnerability. They look at us and they say, oh, Nicole Miller, the reason they have higher prices than we have, the reason doing well, is because they have a name. That's the stupidest. We all have names. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, is you have a name. What we have is, we have a reputation. That the name means a reputation of doing certain things for 25 years in the same way. That's what our name means. They don't think what the name means. They could do it too. If they would spend 25 years developing something, they would have the same idea. But they think they just get the name. Like, actually, they think that Nicole's mother, when she was born, said, now let me see, I have to name my daughter. What would be a good brand name? No, wrong. So now the saturation thing is very difficult. We have levels of distribution that are absolutely squeaky clean. We have Neiman's, Nordstrom's, Bloomingdale's, 1,200 specialty stores at one level that take either a signature or a collection level. That's the top. We have nothing till you get down to the mid-tier to JCPenney, and that is a Nicole by Nicole Miller. And the, one of the honchos at Nordstrom's called me and said, the one thing that we're doing, they do very well with our stuff, the one thing I love about your company is your distribution is squeaky clean. And she says that knowing that we sell Nicole by Nicole Miller at JCPenney, because there's no conflict, there's no confusion between what we sell Nordstrom's and what we sell to JCPenney. They're both great, but there's worlds apart in fabrication and worlds apart in price. So the saturation, we don't sell we don't sell Marmax, we don't sell Steinmart, we don't sell any of those Daffy Dans, we don't sell any of those stores. We don't sell Dillard's. Why don't we sell Dillard's? Because we do too big a job with Neiman's, and we feel that would be saturation, and we would get a customer at Dillard's that is not our real customer. Neiman's is in the same places as Dillard's. They want to buy our stuff, they go to Neiman's. We don't have to put it in Dillard's, split the customer, have Neiman's figure out that their sales are not what they used to be, have Dillard's do some business, but it's not really their kind of line, and then all of a sudden Dillard's has to mark it down. The Neiman sees it marked down and say, why are they marking this down? Is what's going on with this line? It's something that we're finished. So the saturation, the distribution is a key part of the merchandising and the marketing. And what you have to do is, if you're going to design the stuff like this, what you have to do is you have to say, I'm exclusive to JCPenney at the mid-tier. That means I don't sell Kohl's, I don't sell Sears, I don't sell Kmart, I don't sell Walmart, I don't sell Target, I don't sell any of those people. I'm very happy with the Pennies that we're in 550 stores of Pennies. It's kind of enough stores to be around in the places in the country where you want to be. We are selling 800 stores of Bed Bath, also under license for bedding and not for clothing, for bedding and stuff like that. So, and that's it for home. We don't sell, we're exclusive to Bed Bath. We don't sell anybody else in that area. So we're very, very careful about the distribution, because the worst thing you can do is look like it's all over the place. Some guys get away with it, and some guys get very big that way, but as I just said for the last hour, we do our own thing. The other guy can get away with it, we can't. Or if we could, we don't want to. We just want to really keep it very special as we can, and still have a growing business. And we're growing fast enough with Bloomingdale's and with Nordstrom's and with Neiman's and with the 1,200 specialty stores that it doesn't seem to be a problem. Anybody that takes a quick fix of Marmax coming in and saying, we'll give you a big order, and they can have 2,200 stores. They give you a big order, knock your socks off, big season, adios, because that's what happens. Been there. Yeah.
I'm just curious to know how much of an influence you have on the collection, like on each seasonal collection, and then also, in your opinion, what is your greatest accomplishment or achievement as CEO for Nicole Miller?
Okay, this is a 4-hour answer to this question. I'll see if I can keep it down to a couple of sentences. The question was, what involvement do I have in the style as CEO, and what do I feel is my greatest accomplishment? Well, when I hired Nicole in 1975, and I'll never forget and she brought me the dress that she had done. She did everything by herself. She brought me the dress that had done for that day. I'll never forget the first day that she did. It was a knit dress, and it was stripes, and the stripes went this way, and the placket, it was a little shirt front, and the placket, the stripes ran this way, and they were right on the stripe was perfect. It was right on the edge. So she says, "Isn't this great looking?" So I said, "Yeah, it's great looking. Who the hell is going to make it?" So I just made one. I said, "That's all we're going to make is one, because there's no factory that's going to keep that stripe on the edge of the placard. You ever been to a factory?" "Yes, I've been to a factory." I said, "Come on, you know what it is." And the thing is all over the place. You can't do that. "Well, yes, I can." I said, that was our first thing. She said, "Yes, I can." I said, "No, you can't." She was not my partner at that time. She was working for me. So I won the argument, okay? And we canned the thing. And so my contribution after that was every day she would bring in what she did for that day. And so after a while, and she had talent from day one. We were successful, but not always successful. You're not successful with 100% of the things. And after a while, what happens is I was in the business 20 years when I hired her. So after a while, you get the idea of what her design is. Maybe not what's great or not great. I have an eye developed over all of those years about what I think is great, what I think is sell. Sometimes I say, "Why don't we do this and that," based on what we're doing, and then she executes it. But what I really do, what I am is a sounding board for her, because I could say, "Nicole, it's not you." And then she'll give me an argument. She'll say, "I'm going to wear this every day of the summer." So go ahead and wear it, but it's not you. This is not you. So that's a contribution that, and by the way, it works with the other way. When I have a business deal or whatever, I go in and I say, "What do you think?" She says, "I don't like the guy." So I said, what do you, she says, I don't think he's going to do what he says. I don't think anything's going to happen good with this guy. He just gives me, I don't like it. So I start to think about it. So she's right. So I may say, when I'm talking to her, I may say, "Oh, come on, what's that to say? The guy's a normal guy. He's got a big business. He's very successful. He's selling this one, that one. He's making all kinds of money." He says, "I don't care what he's doing. I don't like him. I know it's something I feel. It's not socially, it's business-wise. I don't think the guy is right." And as I start to think about it, I figure, not just because she's my partner, it's because, she's right. She's got a sixth sense about the things. I have a sixth sense about the clothing. She has a sixth sense about the business. What makes a very, very strong partnership. And the greatest accomplishment, which was the second part of the question, I guess the greatest accomplishment is the business. The business itself is run bottom to top. It's not run top to bottom. When I was lecturing in Japan to how come we do this and give us your secret or something, they asked me to draw a organizational chart of the company. And I drew a big circle, and I put myself at the bottom. I said, "This is not a top-down organization. What I have is I've hired some great people, and sometimes they come and, just like Nicole does, and say, 'What do you think? What do you think?' And I tell them what I think, and then we'll let them do what they want. And it's under control. We have budgets just like everybody else, but that's the main thing of our business that I've encouraged is to let people really work the thing out themselves, really understand what they're doing, and really we have high morale. We've got the greatest morale maybe in the entire industry. Average age in our company is 29 years old, the average age. And the day I leave, the average is going down to 18. So the biggest accomplishment is really to get the best out of everyone, and everybody really responds to that. And the main thing I have to do is I have to make sure that everybody that's working in our company feels like the person next to them is working just as hard, if not harder than they are. They're just as interested, just committed. Working hard is a funny thing. What does working hard mean? A ditch digger works hard all day long, but it's somebody could be replaced by a machine. But they're working smart, and they're really interested, and they're really thinking about things, and they're really executing right. We want the person next to them to be just as committed. And when that person is not as committed as they are, if I got someone that's dragging ass, I have to get rid of them, because that's my obligation to everybody else in the company, is how can I have high morale if I have someone, you're putting your everything in this, you're committed, and I've got a person that's not right next to you, then who cares? And if she can get away with that, then I'm getting away with that. I had, just to give you part of the 4-hour answer, but then I'll cut it off, okay? I hired a girl from Dartmouth, okay? Made sense. I went there, they called me up, blah, 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 the whole thing came down, interview her. She interviewed okay. I said, look, I don't really have a job that's crying out for anybody right now, but I could probably use somebody. What's growing very fast with this is a PR department. This is exactly what I want to do. I've trained, blah, 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 PR. Okay, you give PR. And then we got into the internet business, and I called her and I said, Kate, here's where you can make a real difference. We're developing, this a few years ago, we're developing our internet capability, and we don't have anybody running it right now. And I think that, you could start at the beginning and really understand this thing and really run it. We'll give you all the resources, we'll hire web designers, we'll do all of that, but I need somebody who's really gonna run this thing and shape it so it's good for the company. Okay, great. Okay, a few months into the program, we got a web designer, we do all this stuff, and then I said, okay, you know what? The thing looks pretty good right now. The web designers have done a good job. What I want to do is I want to try out a little bit of e-commerce just to see if anybody responds to it. But I want to make sure our e-commerce, that the fulfillment is really right on. I want the package to arrive. Anybody buys something, I want the package to arrive looking like somebody's had a retail store experience. Beautiful tissue paper, wrapped up nicely. Thank you note from Nicole and the thing, please see us again. Here's a catalog on other stuff. Just a real piece of work as it comes, not just a cardboard box you open, it's like catalog junk that comes out, something that we really meant to wow this person. So, and I said, so our warehouse is in Long Island City, and that's where we're going to do the fulfillment. So I'd like you to go out there and tell them, just show them how you want that box to be when it's open. The tissue paper and everything, they'll do the rest. And her, without skipping a beat, she said, my career path doesn't include going to a warehouse. So I said, your career path has ended in this place right now because I don't have that kind of attitude in the joint. If that's the job and we're going to go and tell somebody and you say your career path doesn't include going to a warehouse for one day, you will never fit in here. She's been there a while, and so I got rid of her. And I can't have prima donnas in the place. There's only one person that could have the title of prima donna at Nicole Miller. It's Nicole Miller herself. She's there at 8:30 in the morning. She leaves at 7 o'clock at night. She's working. She's pinning up clothes. She does everything, including going on PAs and talking to people and selling them stuff. So, and me too. So that's the attitude that we have in our place. It's just great. It's very, very, very fulfilling. Anybody else? Huh? Did I silence you all? Huh? Yeah. Sorry. Oh. Oh, you did? Oh. Worked in our Plano, Texas store. We also opened our own retail stores before anybody else because the idea wasn't just a money-making idea. The idea was the real kind of advertising is to put your clothes on people. And the best way to do that is have your own retail store that also tell you that the thing fits, it looks good, they loved it, they didn't love it, but they give you tremendous feedback. So, well, thank you. Anyhow, thank you all. It's been a pleasure. Good audience.